Action. Ben Barbersmith. Such an honor to have you as a guest in our The Journey stories. Um, I've been following you on Twitter for quite some time. I think that for the last year and a half, I've got to know you a little bit better, and more than that, I got the chance to be inspired to know a little bit more about the your running journey. And that's why I said we need to invite Ben to be our next guest to the journey stories. And I'm so again, just like I said, such an honor to have you here. And
Thank you very much. It blows me away to be one of the guests along with some of the other ones you already have. So yeah, this is an honor for me.
yeah, so we had already Ricky Gates, Hillary Allen, Carl Meltzer, and May Flynn, and now Ben Barber Smith. You are at least. Let me tell you, this is something that came up into my mind. You are now part of the Journey Hall of Fame, so it's such an honor. Hey, Ben, before we start talking about running and your running journey, can you just introduce yourself? You don't need to give us like share with us the whole your life timeline, but just tell us where you're from, what you do. Um, just tell us a little bit more about you.
Sure. So I guess I'm kind of your average techie in many ways. I'm from the UK. I grew up loving computers and coding and went into that as my career. During my university years, I got very, very fat. And then after a while, I took up running and I got back to a normal, healthy size again. And it's part of my life now. So I'm a developer. I run my own business. I've been running my own businesses on and off for years. I've got two little kids and I run whenever I can around those things. So unlike the amazing guest you just mentioned, I'm average Joe. I'm not superstar. I'm a normal runner, but I absolutely love it, and it's a big part of my life.
Oh, that's something that we can discuss later. I know that I already asked you this, but I really believe that it's really important to for some of the people that could that may watch this in the future. How can you manage, or how do you manage like so many tasks, and still in the middle you have time to run, for example, 2K or 5K, just to stay fit. But my first question is that, just like you said, I know that a few years ago you were obese, so you had a few kilograms. Um, and what what was the moment you felt that, okay, I'm not healthy, I need to start to do something? And why did you choose running? So tell us a little bit more about the journey from, well, obese to today.
Yeah. Well, as a kid, I used to do all sorts of different activities, but never anything serious, right? So I would do whatever my friends were doing. I would go and join them for 6 weeks at a time. So as a kid, I tried all these different things, and one of the things I tried out with was athletics. So I went to an athletics class every week for a while. We did like track and field, a bit of running, and I was rubbish. I was awful. I was no good, but it was fun, and it was something I did for maybe 6 months. But that was kind of my running childhood. That was it. I did 6 months of occasional track and field, and I was never any good. Uh, and I guess I was bad at sports generally. And when I went through my university years, I drank way too much alcohol. I ate way too much food, and I was clinically obese, like according to the UK government would say I was obese. But I only really knew about it when my dad, who in my head, my dad was a little bit overweight. And one day he told me that I needed to lose a few pounds, and he told me that I should get on the treadmill and start doing some running. My parents had a treadmill in their house, so I just got on and started doing 5K. It didn't stick. It took me a long time before it really stuck. But fast forward a few more years, I kept on wanting to get back to this idea of maybe I could run. Maybe this could help me be fit and healthy and a good weight in myself. And I loved the idea of fitting it into my life, fitting it around what I do every day. So I was trying to run to work was like my goal. My
Mm.
work was 3 miles away from my house. So the goal was just run 3 miles to my house, starting off like once a week.
And
I kept I
that
kept
was
making
when?
excuses, right? And my wife was like, just do it. If you have to walk the whole way, make sure you've left yourself enough time to walk the whole way. Just do it. And that was the beginning of me actually running, was when I started running to work and fitting it into that part of my life.
When was that? Like 5 years ago?
2010, 2011, so about
Oh
10 years
wow.
ago now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So uh, the first strategy in order for you to start running, in order to stay fitter, was to go so run to work 3 miles.
Yeah, three
Okay.
miles to work. And to begin with, it was like as much walking as it was running. It was once a week to begin with. But that was the first time that I ever found a way to make running part of my life and not just a chore or a task to fit in or something I had to do to try and get fit. And all of a sudden, I was outside. I was enjoying fresh air. I was challenged. I had a time that I could beat and compete with myself. And somehow, because it wasn't taking time out of my day, it was giving something else and something extra. It worked. And very rapidly from there, I turned from like a once a week, 3 miles kind of guy to let's go run marathons kind of guy. Probably too rapidly, just like every runner in the world, right? They start too fast and they go straight from nothing to injury and injury and injury. But it was the beginning of the running journey.
Okay. So you started like so you started run 2010, 2011, one time per week, 3 miles.
Yep.
Okay.
And then from there, it was twice a week. And then it was 10K every weekend and 5Ks midweek. Then it was trying to build up to a half marathon, running a half marathon all on my own. Then it was maybe I can actually race a half marathon, entered my first race and, oh, let's do a marathon, entered a marathon, did that. And it quickly got out of control, as every runner knows.
We well, you mentioned already that, well, so the first strategy was to go run to work, but were there any strategies that you used in order just to keep up with the motivation, keep up with like so what was the reason behind going from, okay, 3 miles, then 5K, 10Ks during the weekends? So what was the reason you used that served as a boost that allow
Yeah.
you to continue running?
Uh, I guess a year ahead of my running journey was my weight loss journey. And I'd felt over the course of losing weight and going from being obese to being a normal weight, I could feel how much better I felt in my body, how everything felt easier, how I felt more comfortable, how I could not be embarrassed working up a sweat, climbing the stairs or whatever it might be. Like I could just be normal and interact with the world again. And when I went through my running journey, I very quickly found that, that muscle soreness you get after your first run that you've never done before fades away. It doesn't happen. You don't feel sore after a 5K anymore. All of a sudden, when you're climbing stairs or when you're rushing for a train or whatever it is, you don't work up such a sweat anymore, or it's easy. It doesn't hurt anymore. And I found that just like losing weight, getting fit and being like cardiovascular fitness made a huge difference to how much I enjoyed life, how I felt in my every single day. And the fitter I got, the further I ran, the longer I ran, the more I felt that, the more I felt like my body was mine and was fit and
Hmm.
was working as it should be. And my mind started to settle down. Like I think most distance runners have felt this as well. When you're out there for a certain amount of time, the noise begins to fade and you can really focus a bit more. And again, I felt the mental benefits of that as well. And because I had gone through that as a weight loss journey, when I went through it as a fitness journey, I knew what was happening. I knew how the progression was coming, and I could see that if I kept investing, I would keep feeling good. So that was my motivation.
That's interesting. And again, let me add another layer to the to this topic. So you continue to run because then you had a first phase which was losing weight, then a little bit more like with a normal weight you continue to run because you were seeing some results, progress. But what was your reaction when you had bad days? Like what you felt? So what allowed you during the bad days, imagine those weeks when you didn't had any progress, and you felt that okay, so I had no progress, this is difficult, how did you react?
This is going to sound like a broken record because it's kind of the same thing again, right? Because when I was losing weight, there were weeks where I would like try so hard to eat well, eat healthily, not eat too much, do all the right things, no alcohol, blah, 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 blah. And my weight would stay the same. And I would lose no fat. I would lose no weight. I would just be on the scales. It's like I had done nothing, where I felt like I'd been really trying so hard to eat clean for a week or whatever it might be. So when it came to running, it was again the same thing. Like, okay, this week I haven't improved any of my times. This week I felt like absolute trash when I was running that 10K. It didn't feel good like the week before. But I kind of already knew from that previous journey that these plateaus are okay. They are not something to be scared of. They are not a bad thing. It doesn't mean that you failed or that you've stopped progressing. So that helped. The thing that didn't help for me, that was much harder, was the idea of if you push too hard, you injure yourself or you do get set back. I hadn't learned that from weight loss. There wasn't really that thing for me when I was getting healthy weight. So a few times I would work too hard, trip myself up in terms of like injury or knee troubles or whatever it might be. And that was tough when all of a sudden I couldn't do this thing that was making me feel good, that was making me progress, that was making me happy. And I was back, 6 weeks ago. That was much tougher.
It's interesting what you're saying. So just to wrap up on your running journey, at least going from obese to a normal weight person. Imagine that I am someone who is looking to start my running journey. Well, and I can be, again, obese, normal weight, but start running. Because one of the things that I usually say to people is that running is a very special thing. Running is not for everyone. Well, it can be. It's for everyone, but you either like or hate. Okay, so you need to be like a very, I don't know, it's very special. Okay. But to go straight to the question, imagine that I'm someone who is starting to or looking for start running. What would be the advice that you would give to someone like me? What could be the strategies that I could use in order, just like you, to stay consistent and, on the other side, be patient? Because with what you said, one of the things like with your running journey, we saw that you are patient. You took time just to, well, build your own path. So what would be the advices that you'd give to someone like me who is looking to start running? And what are the strategies that I could use to stay consistent and be patient?
I think the first advice or thing I would say is I disagree with what you said about people finding love it or hate it with running. I think the people that hate running just haven't figured out how to enjoy it yet. Because over and over again, I hated running. I hated running so many times.
Oh,
And
really?
finally, I fell in love with it. And so I think the trick is to try and find a way to make running not horrible to begin with. It doesn't have to be enjoyable, just not awful. And for me, that was like, people said, go slower than you think, give yourself time, walk if you need to, don't make it horrible, make it easy. And it's a bit of a joke, right? Because when you're starting out as a runner, and there's no such thing as an easy run, like everything is hard, but you can make it easier. You realize that you were sprinting too fast before. You weren't just jogging along slowly. You feel like you're going at walking pace sometimes, so you're embarrassed that you're basically going as fast as like the elderly person next to you, but you're not, right? You're making progress. You're pushing yourself forward. You're learning to do it. So go easy on yourself, and I think anyone can love it if they don't have injuries that prevent it. And so I think my advice would be go easy on yourself, take time, and recognize that this is like long, slow, compounding progress. Like the first few months are the hardest. It's the times when you have these 5Ks that make you feel sore for 3 days or 4 days in a row afterwards. And then a year down the line, you're running a half marathon and you don't even feel it the next day, right? And it builds up and compounds over time, and you just need to stay with it, and you will see those results, and those results will get stronger and better and faster. Everyone hits a peak, but you know what I mean, right? There's so much that you can get out of it if you just give yourself time and try and be kind to yourself.
True, totally agree. For the you said already that so you went from 3 miles to marathon. When was it, the marathon?
About 18 months after I started running those
18
3 months
months
work.
after.
Yeah, maybe a bit
Oh,
less.
okay. And how was it?
uh, it was interesting because I had been training for it for such a long time. I had read all these like motivational books about how you need to like visualize yourself as a marathon runner, and I'm going to be a marathon runner. And I was so ready for it, and I was in the best physical shape I'd been in my entire life. And there was a massive storm, and half of the course was flooded, and there were like gale force winds, and it was too dangerous to have the second half of the course running because like branches were flying everywhere. There was flooding on the course. So they made it into a half marathon on the morning when I got there. They said, "Sorry, everyone, it's too dangerous. It has to be a half marathon." And I was devastated because I was here for my first marathon. This was the day I was going to be a marathon runner. I had prepared myself so strongly for so long. And at the end of the half marathon, I just saw my friends and my parents waiting, and I said, "I'm going to keep going." And I just found a road, and I just ran up and down this half a mile road over and over and over again until I'd finished running the full marathon distance.
Wow.
And there were branches falling out of trees next to me. There were like massive puddles and things that was soaking. I was cold. I couldn't feel my fingers, but I did it, and I couldn't be happier. So nobody recognized my first marathon. It wasn't official. It wasn't real. I didn't get a chip time or a gun time, but it made me a very happy man.
That's amazing, man. Congratulations. I didn't know about that. I didn't know about that. That's an amazing story. Like, well, you are mentally prepared to go finish your first marathon in the end because of weather restrictions. Officially, there's an half marathon for you to do, but well, whatever. I came here to do the marathon, and I will do the marathon. That's amazing, especially and I like that, especially taking into account that the second half of your, well, not the second half, yeah, well, the second half of the half marathon, so half marathon plus one, it was by your own, and congratulations on that. Like um I'm really passionate about running, as you know, and I'm more focused on alternate distances, so plus marathon distances. But I've never I've never did a marathon. I will in the future. So I went from 21K to 55. So and but I know that
I can
someday I will.
honestly tell you, I enjoyed my 50K ultras. I've enjoyed them more than I enjoyed the marathons. The marathon is not so enjoyable for me.
Not anymore, right? Not anymore. But yeah, like one of the mantras I have to myself is like, life is not a sprint nor a marathon. Life is an ultra running race.
Yes, 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 absolutely.
So well, yeah. Thank you so much for sharing the advice. So going from um like so the purpose on your in your running journey changed a little bit. So now you run, I can imagine now you run to stay fit, right? So for healthy reasons. But
And for the mental space that it gives me as much as anything
so
else.
yeah, so the question is, nowadays, why do you run? Why do you continue to run? So what drives you to run?
Well, yeah, it's partly this mental space. It's the distance running anything over 45 minutes, and my brain can start to go quiet, and I can start to actually think about the things that really matter to me in the long term, and not just the things that matter to me in whatever distraction I'm in. So that really helps me. The other thing is just waking my body up every day. Nothing starts my day and my brain off better than a run. And I kind of took this to the extreme over the last few years. I started a running streak, like at one point planning to do a 50-day running streak. I'd read something on a blog that used to be around called No Meat Athlete from, I don't know if maybe it still exists. Anyway, it was about a guy who had done a 50-day running challenge, and he was some vegan marathon runner. And he was like, just try it. And I thought, okay, I'll try it. I'll run every day for 50 days. And I got to the end of it and just carried on going. And that was kind of that. And I did it for like 5 years. So
For 5
after a
years,
while, 5 years every day,
wow.
at least 2 kilometers, usually much more. So for like 5 years, I ran every day, and that was just it. There was no question. There was no why. It was just, I run every day. Why do I run every day? Because I do. So I got like the mental benefits out of it. I get the consistency out of it. I get the physical fitness out of it. But really, I just run now because running is part of my life and who I am. And I think if I stopped, I would find myself in a dark place in my head. Maybe I would find myself getting fatter. I would find myself feeling less able to face the world. But really, I guess about that. I don't really know about that, because running is now just something I do and who I am.
So running is the solution for X, right?
Yeah, for any given problem, a run will probably solve it. And my wife always laughs at me, because half the time when I feel sick, I go for a run anyway, because I run every day. And I always feel better after the run, or almost always feel better after the run than I did beforehand. On some days when I feel really gross, really sick, really ill, I'm on the sofa and I finally go for the run at like 10 p.m. or something, just before bed, because I couldn't face it all day long. And when I get back, it's the best I felt all day. And it's like, oh, I should have gone earlier. I knew I should have gone earlier. I always know that.
Are you still
Running is a solution to everything.
are you still into streaks?
Yes. So my streak was just over 5 years, and towards the end, it was a little bit oppressive in a way. Like I really didn't want to break the streak, and it was quite. It became almost counterproductive, because it was such a weight to keep it going. We had a bit of a family tragedy, and that gave me a need to break the streak. I couldn't run that day. And I kind of took the excuse to reset a little bit, and so I haven't been strict with myself for a while. But I want to start again. Maybe not for 5 years, but I want to start, 30 days at a time, or 50 days at a time, or whatever it might be. So I've just started one now. I'm running a little chat community for people who want to try and start running every day, which I'm really excited about. We only just started it, called Everyday Runners, and we're just doing like running every day in December. So no giant pressure, no life goals, but just a challenge. And it is quite hard over the holidays to try and get out there. So we're just doing things like that now, and I'm really excited to make streak a thing without it being a 5-year thing.
Everydayrunners.club, right?
Yes, everydayrunners.club, if anyone wants to join.
Have you heard about Hella Sidibe?
I have not.
So you need to. He's an American. I think he comes from Mali. But now he lives in the United States. So he's very famous because he's now also in a running streak already with 3,000 something days in a row.
Wow.
Yes, big. And he recently finished. He was the first Black person to cross the United States, so east to west. So you need to check it. You need to check Hella Sidibe or Hella Sibide. Yes, Hella Good. If you search on YouTube, Hella Good. So everyone who is watching, Hella Good is an amazing and inspiring American runner who is also passionate about running streaks. So
nice. Well, 8 or 9 years, you would have to be passionate. That's a long streak, especially if you're doing like a run across America, right? Like, oof.
Yeah, and he's like always full of energy, very like always showing up, inspiring people. And you should check Hella Good. Last 2 questions. So what were the main learnings? So the learnings that you got like from running, or picking up those learnings, what running taught you that you now apply to other areas in your life?
One is like, you can always make time for something that's important to you, even if it's feels out of reach. Like those 5 years of running and that running streak, I ran on like the days that my kids were born. I did it before they were born, not after. But like I knew they were going to be born that day, so I got up super early and did the 10 minutes, and then came right back home. So I was ready to drive to the hospital. I ran like the days I was traveling across the Atlantic. I would just get up super early or run up and down to the airport. Some days I forgot in the early few months, and I would run at like 11:50 p.m. or I would run a little bit drunk, which was not smart, but there we go. So like there was always a chance to do this because it was important to me. And I think if you find something that is important to you and you set yourself something as small as 10 minutes, even when it's really tough, you can kind of make it happen. And after a while, the weight of the consistency is enough to keep you going. And I think that was the most powerful thing for me, was knowing that that streak was behind me. And you can apply that to anything in life. Like if you just do something every day, you will do it every day. It will become who you are. And I guess the flip side of that is choose wisely, right? Like choose wisely what you're spending your time doing and what habits you're making part of who you are. I try and be really conscious of that, and it's difficult, right? But in terms of clean eating, I'm really bad at that at times and really good at that at times. I can't be as consistent as I am with running, but like I'm trying to make that something about who I am. So running taught me that consistency is key, but is also like its own empowerment after a while. It also taught me like there are very few things that can't be solved by giving your body a wake-up call and a shock. Going out in the rain, in the snow, in the cold, in the dark makes me feel better, not worse. Like getting out the door might be hard and my body might fight me, my brain might fight me every step of the way, but most problems can be solved running, at least temporarily, or they give you a new perspective, or they give you space. So yeah, I've learned that taking myself out of a situation, reassessing my body and doing it, consistently can change my life. And it has changed my life.
And from the consistency that you've learned running, and all the learnings you shared, is there anything that, for example, when you are working on your business, I don't know, for example, for me, it's mental strength. Like, I know that, and this sounds cliche, but every time I have an obstacle, I know I can do it, and why? Because I can think that, just like you said, in the morning, I woke up and it was freezing. My mind was saying, stay sleeping, but then I made it, and the mental strength of taking action allows me, for example, when I have an obstacle while I'm working, I can use that. Is there anything, just like I said, is there anything that you learned from running that you apply to work, to your personal life? Is there anything that you've learned with running that you want to share with your kids?
Yeah, I guess a big one is like setting your expectations and setting your goals changes the entire experience of the journey. Like every runner, I guess, has experienced the fact that sometimes a 5K feels like forever and the hardest thing in the world. Whereas if you're running a marathon or a half marathon, you don't even notice 5K in the middle of it. Like just because you're going to be out there for 2 hours or 3 hours or 4 hours, all of a sudden half an hour feels like no big deal. But if you know you're only out there for half an hour, you feel every step of the way, or it's a long slog. So I try and bear this in mind with actively thinking ahead, like I'm in something for the long haul. This is going to take me 3 months, or this is going to take me 6 months. Try and put an accurate picture on it, accept that it is a long, hard journey, and then roll with it. And because I'm not expecting it to be done by next week, I'm not expecting it to be done by 2 days time, it's not so bad. I can endure the slow progress, or I can endure the hard bits in the middle, because I know that this is just part of that journey. It really helps me to think long distance running like in my everyday life. Yeah.
One last thing I would like to ask you, Ben, before we finish. We talked already in the beginning about what can be the strategies. How can someone who is just starting to run, some of the strategies that they can use. And since with this project, so since with the journey, just like I've mentioned, we really want to bring new voices, and we really want those voices to inspire others. What can you tell to the running community for those who are struggling to just keep consistent, uh, for someone who might feel that, well, running is hard? What would you say to inspire others to do, for example, what you're doing, just to go there, start small, stay consistent. If you only have 10 minutes to run, use those 10 minutes to run. So in the end, the question or the challenge, if we can say it this way, is what can you tell to someone who is watching this, that might inspire them to start running, or to stay consistent with their running journey?
I guess two things. One is be kind to yourself, because everyone I know who has ever been consistent and done well on a running journey failed repeatedly when they were starting, and no one gets it right first time. And the big one is, if I can do it, anyone can do it, right? I was very, very unfit. I was very, very overweight, and I had been for a long time. I had never been a good runner. You know, when you read marathon books, when you read all these different things, when you talk to trail runners and ultra runners, you think that they're all born fit and healthy and amazing, and like they've been doing this forever, and that's part of who they are and how they were raised. I'm not. I wasn't raised that way. I don't have an active family. I don't live in a wonderful outdoor place. I had to slog my way through it, and now I can run 100 kilometers in 24 hours. Now I can run a 3-hour, 4-minute marathon. Now I can run every day for 5 years. Now I can love every second of it. And if I can do it, so can you, because you're probably in better shape than me, whoever you are listening now. You're probably in better shape than I was when I started, right? You probably don't weigh as much as I did when I started. Maybe you even had fun doing sports once, which I never had done when I started, but I still did it. And you can too. And it won't be easy, and you will fail, and you will probably need a few tries, but be kind to yourself. Don't give up, keep going. And yeah, you can be a marathon runner, ultra runner too.
Hands down to that. Hands down to that. It was thank you so much for sharing, because again, just like I said, very simple, straight to the point. It's a fact, it's not an idea. It's not, you're not saying because, just because. It's a fact. And again, that's why it was for us the right decision to invite you to be part of one of the Journey Stories episode, and 6 out of 5. So since you are more and more into running, and you, just like you said, you started the Everyday Runners Club, where can people follow you, like on social media, at least to keep being inspired by you?
Yeah, anyone who wants to follow me on Twitter, it's twitter.com/Ben Barbersmith. It's a mix of running obsession, developer, business building, parenting chat. So it's not for everyone, but if you have kids, you like running, you like tech, or you like businesses, you'll probably find something there. And then if you just want the running part and nothing else, everydayrunners.club. We're in a chat community with people who are from their first running, they've only just started, to people who have done ultra marathons. And really, we're just there to support each other running a little bit more often. So
Awesome.
Come find us,
awesome.
come join us.
Awesome. One extra question. How do you manage to have kids and still have time to run?
Yeah, that's it's not an easy question, and I don't have a good answer for it. I used to run a lot more than I do now. I used to run like 50 to 100K every week, and now it's rarely near that. I think the short answer is you can't always with 2 young kids, especially if you want to be there for every meal time and be present, and you've got a job as well. So when they're asleep, and that's about it. So it's hard. My hope is that as they get older, I can do more of it again. But for now, I fit it in when I can. My secret weapon is go after their sleep, or have a very supportive and loving partner who is willing to let me go out for a 5 or 10K and not begrudge that.
And
it's not easy.
and and somehow accept that again, going from someone who runs every day, and now take into account that priorities change a little bit, accept that on that specific day where it's not possible to run, it's not possible to run because life changed, right? So
Right. My last marathon was 3 hours, 4 minutes. And I wanted to beat 3 hours so badly. But to do that, I need another marathon training cycle and I need to go hard at that marathon training cycle. And I just can't do that in my life right now with these kids unless I stop seeing the kids so much or I leave my wife to do more than her fair share of the work.
yeah,
I'm not willing to do that. So I have to just put it on pause. And the beautiful thing about distance running is you can be a great distance runner into your old age. I've seen so many super old dudes running marathons, often in some very fast times. So I have to tell myself, be patient. You can get back to it. You can do this stuff again, and enjoy what's in front of you now while you have it with your children.
that's something that I need to just to implement in my routine, to be patient, because well,
It's hard.
routines are different. So Ben, thank you so much for your time, for sharing your stories, for sharing your experience, for sharing the strategies that you put in practice in order to become a very inspiring and passionate runner. It was again such an
Thank
honor
you.
to have you part of the running stories. We always finish with, whenever you go out to run, you can go. We got your back. Ben, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. This has been
Thank you.
amazing.
Thank
We've
you.
got you back.
Thank you.